Hi everybody, welcome back. Thank you for enjoying the non-house videos the last couple weeks. It's a much needed break and a fun time in Lisbon. But this is a home renovation channel after all. So this week's inside the house, renovating the small bedroom. So in the early videos, there's a lot of comments about it and just life in general. There's a lot of misconceptions about mold. There's a difference between capital B, capital M, black mold, and just mold that is black or dark colored, or mold stains, which are dark, or like this, that's just dead mildew. The black mold to be concerned with is actually very delicate. It can't have any sunlight, it needs constant moisture, it can't really compete with other molds, and it needs cellulose to survive, which is why it's usually on the inside of American style hollow walls with drywall, because the gypsum in the drywall holds water and the paper on the outside is the food source for the mold, and inside the wall there's no light, there's no other molds. But this wall is plaster, there's no cellulose. The wood is cellulose, but it's exposed to the atmosphere. There's plenty of sunlight up there. It's not a thing to be concerned with. There's also another type of black mold that's different. It's usually found on food, like an old onion, like between the layers, you'll see that black. That's a completely different species. It actually has a lot of industrial uses, and it's so ubiquitous in the environment, you're constantly breathing in spores of that and many other molds. So mold in itself is not a bad thing. It's omnipresent. You're constantly breathing in spores. And for a normal, healthy person, even short-term exposure to a moldy area is perfectly fine in most cases and not a thing to stress out over. This, of course, isn't official advice. Just hoping to save some unnecessary stress and money because of some mold on some patio furniture or something. So as you can see here, this part is concrete, and that's where the plumbing is. I'm not sure why it's so thick for a 1/2-inch water pipe, but I'll get in there and see. But you can see that it has blocked the moisture coming up from the ground, so it kind of concentrates it down here. And then up here you have all the water damage from where the gutter overflowed, and it actually, you can see that it kind of flowed between the plaster and the inside of the wall itself. And because the bathroom is tiled and the kitchen is tiled, the only place for the water to escape from, so all the water kind of gets concentrated here and amplifies the damage. And here you can see the makeup of the plaster. There's cal, the lime and coarse sand layer, and then a lime and fine sand, or maybe just straight lime layer to smooth it out, and then the paint on top of that. And there's several layers of paint. There's also some spots here where you can tell it's been patched. So if you remember from the second video, there was quite a bit of dirt on the floor. Probably ended up being 2 or 3 buckets worth, that a lot of that washed out through here, so I'm kind of worried about how much erosion on the inside there is, but only way to find out is to open it up and see. So this part I went kind of slow just because I wasn't really sure at all what to expect taking the plaster off, if it would all just kind of fall apart, or even how stable the wall behind it was. And here's just a quick check to make sure there's no critters or anything living in the gap behind the wall. So here you can really see the makeup of the wall. It's just stones and clay, bunch of slugs. And then here's a bunch of clay that washed down and got caught in that kind of bulged out area. But then this part is kind of interesting. There's probably from when the house was built. There's like a hole that's drilled all the way to the other side with another rock on the other side. So maybe that's where a water pipe or something used to come in. And here you can see how the plaster, it's just sand and lime, coarse sand and lime, and you can see all the whitewash layers on top of it. And because at this point it's all just sand and calcium carbonate, I'll just incorporate all the waste into the garden. So now I'll get rid of these broken boards here to get them out of the way. I tried to move this and the end broke off. You can see how rotted it is from where it was getting wet. And as you can see, the wood that didn't get water damaged, it's still very strong and in good shape. All that taking down the ceiling board stirred up a bunch of dust and stuff, hence the mask. But as you can kind of see, this half that didn't have the water pouring down was much better attached to the wall. But I still felt best to take it all off and start over from scratch. So you can see here that there's a pipe. No clue what the rest of this is, but I'll work on getting the rest of that out, and then I'll clean up all this stuff so it doesn't keep falling. So for some reason this concrete is incredibly hard. Just very, very strong for whatever reason, which made chiseling through it very difficult. And I had to go kind of slow because I wasn't sure if there was another pipe in there or where it was at, so I didn't want to accidentally cut through it. So I realized I didn't quite think this through because I was pretty sure there was a pipe behind the cement, but I didn't think about what to do about it afterwards, because I realized I can't just plaster over it because the metal and lime won't do good together. And I plan to route everything up through the ceiling so it's easier to access. I'm guessing that this one is for hot water, which I have no clue where it connects to. And since this one's thicker, I'm guessing that's the cold water, which is active, so it has water in it, and I'd have to cap it off before I cut it out. So I probably jumped the gun on this project a little bit. So I guess I'll have to take out the tiles in the kitchen to see where it all begins and a place that I can cap the pipe off at till I can reroute everything. So that's that. I'll have to figure out what to do from this point. I was planning to move to the bathroom next, but I think I'll have to go to the kitchen to figure out where all those pipes start and where I can cut them out and cap them off and stuff. I also realized I made a mistake. I think it was the Q&A video where I was talking about the wood treatment. Boron treatments, there are ones that soak into the wood that aren't just surface treatments that you can use for active infestations, which is what I wanted to get in the first place, but it's not available here. So that's what got me on the cypermethrin and permethrin, because that's what is available here. So my mind got stuck on permethrin and then got stuck looking for a product that's not available here either. So I'll keep figuring out what I can get. But also why I was kind of limited was because I was still on my initial visa that's only allows me out of the country one time. So I was saving that for like an emergency or something. But now that I have my actual residence permit, I can leave whenever I want. So if I need to just fly up to England for a quick shopping trip, I can do that. So that opens up a lot more possibilities. But it does still seem very limited of what is actually available in the EU for some reason. But I would much rather use a boron-based treatment because it's permanent. Permethrin still only lasts like 10 years, but the boron's much safer for people and the environment, and it's permanent. So I'll keep looking for some source of that or something similar, and research some of the other options that y'all mentioned in the comments too. And if you're curious about the weather, it's actually pretty chilly right now. You can see once the sun goes down, it cools off quick, and it's in the low 50s at night, probably like 11 or 12 Celsius. So definitely no need for air conditioning, even though it's hot in the day. As you can see, I'm out walking around in the fields, corn on this side, rice on this side. Kind of like being back in Arkansas. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next week. Ciao.